started its life out as a top flight aft, which I stripped. I fiberglassed the fuselage, I covered the wing with Solatex. This is the third one I've done, and I don't know why this come out 2 pounds. The other two come out at 24, this come out at 22. But I think I fiberglassed the wings, and it saved a lot of weight just putting the fabric covering on. It's kind of hard to cover that fuselage and make it look right with fabric, so I tend to do that. Everything else is fabric, all the control surfaces. I build my own 4-blade prop. I used to build them years ago. Basically, you take 2 blades, and this is what if you go out and buy a commercially available one, they don't make them out of one piece of wood. You should have grain this way on that, and then be that way on this, and it just wouldn't even last. But I put them in the milling machine. I measure the depth of the hub, and on that particular one, I come out at 700 thousandths. So I put it in the milling machine, come down 350 thousandths. And fortunately, I had a center cutting end mill that was 1 3/4. It was perfect. You just go down in on the bottom on one, the top on the other, and they just press together. And I put it together with 30-minute epoxy, and then you got the 4 bolts that go through the hub and hold it. I was running it today, and I'm kind of thrilled with it. You know, when I built my first prop for a 55, I called DA and I said, "What do you recommend for a 55 for a 4-blade?" And they said 20-10, 20-inch diameter, 10-inch pitch. Mother, I built one. It was terrible. I could only get 5,300 RPM. In the slowest idle, it wanted to drag the plane along. So I went out the other day and bought 2 22-8 props, and it's perfect. Got a nice idle. Idle's about 1,100 RPM. I get 6,950 top end. With a 2-blade, I get 7,200. So I lose 200, but very, very smooth. It just sounds good. It does. You know, when you're idling on pavement, it doesn't haul it along. You have to have brakes. Hasn't flown yet. I just, and there's no one color scheme. I just picked a bunch of things. I'm kind of not really into making an authentic one. It's just, there was a plane called Munch. I'm not quite sure what he was naming. If that was a girlfriend or one of her friends.
What kind of paint is that, Bill?
That's PPG Durethane. It's called a Fleet Finish.
Is that an
it's
epoxy
catalyzed.
based? Or is that epoxy based? Or?
No, it's a catalyzed enamel. It's a true polyurethane. I don't think that you don't want to paint. You don't want to use epoxies for a top finish. They're too UV sensitive. They yellow in time.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't make good top coat. Make great. I use an epoxy primer, but I never use it as a top coat. It's PPG makes that line. It's called Durethane. It's Fleet Finish, locomotives, aircraft, heavy equipment. You could use it on a car. The problem with this finish on a car is you cannot cut it. It's an what we call an out of the gun finish. Whatever you get for a finish, if you got some dirt, you can't buff it. You cut the surface. What happens on that finish is when it hardens or when it's in the process of curing, there's a clear that floats to the surface, and that's what gives it the wet look. If you cut that, you go into the color, which is dull. Now, on a modified enamel like Imron, you can cut that. It's not a true catalyzed finish.
Do they still sell that, Emerald?
Yeah. And it's the catalyst, this paint will not harden without a catalyst. If you spill some on the edge of the can, 10 years later, it'll still be sticky. That blue, by the way, is about 30 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I painted an airplane 30 years ago, full scale, and that color still got some of that blue left.
How'd you keep it from
You gotta
drying out?
You keep the top of the can clean. Clean it with a rag. What I do, if I got a quart, and I get down to a half a quart, I go buy a pint can. So you have less and less air in there. Then you can go pint, half pint. But you can't leave a small amount in a quart can. But that is, I was just looking at my records, just about 30 years ago I used that blueprint. And it's still just as viable as it was. And
When are you gonna fly it?
hmm?
When are you gonna fly it?
When the snow goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you gonna put skis on it?
Probably could. I don't think I will though.
I don't know how they would retract very well.
I
Yeah.
got retractable skis on my DC-3 because they go up.
Yeah, they go up, yeah.
Maybe on that one, not on this one.
No, that'd be kind of,
Awkward.
yeah. Any questions?
I noticed you got two different horns for the flaps and the ailerons. Why is that?
The horn has been cut for the flap because when it goes down, see how it would hit the wing? So they have you cut that portion off.
Do you need that much? You
Huh?
need that much deflection?
Yeah, I find that
Scale.
that's good. Excellent. I find with this is my third one, and I found on final, if your airspeed's not too high, it's much easier to hold up elevator than put down elevator in. And I get my airspeed down, I lower the flap, and you're holding a little bit of up all the way to the ground.
So you're not mixing the two?
I don't know. If I found there was too much up I was having to hold, I'd mix some up elevator
And
in.
it's one switch that just lowers it all the way? There's no intermediate, there's no...
No, I have half flap. I can show you. I don't have my frequency tag.
Probably expired anyway.
We're not at the field, I think we'll cut the flap.
But that's full flap. And that's half. I never use the half flap. But it's there. You could take off with half flap if you want to.
What's the motor?
It's a DLE 55 rear exhaust, the new one. Yeah, it's hard to cowl a P-51 engine with the side exhaust. Something's gonna stick out somewhere, you know? When they come out with that rear exhaust, they jumped all over. It was just, it just makes it so easy, you know?
And that's Desert Aircraft? Is that Desert that has that?
DLE.
Oh, DL.
TLE.
I guess
What is,
not that familiar with it.
is the company's called DLE?
Yeah,
Same as DL,
yeah.
DLS, they use this.
It used to be
the same-
DL.
Yeah, they use like 3 different names for the same company, but it's a Chinese version, you know, knockoffs of well, not knockoff of DA, but they're going after their market. They make it 20, they make it 30, 35.
We had a
55.
guy up at one at Pasaki that had a DA50, and I was the first one to come with a DL50. And my engine was every bit as powerful as a DA, for half the money and smoother. His was really rough, had an awful vibration, but it could have been just that one. You had two engines. And
My
that's,
DA50 and my DA100s is as smooth as can be. But I had 2 DAs on the 50s, and one flew great and one didn't. So
yeah, his was awful. And he's looking at what I spent, you know, $319 versus his $595, you know, and he didn't get an exhaust with it. So,
DL wasn't around when I bought my
No.
online.
I've got 5 of these. I think they run great. I haven't had a speck of trouble with them. The ignition's good.
Jim Dodge's got one of those for one of his extras. I think Jim Dodge is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it.
But, yeah, it should fly good. It's a little bit lighter than anything I've had. I use the robot pneumatic retracts. I've read a couple
When you
articles on-
started build, do you swing the prop or do you have a battery
Oh,
operated?
no, I hand prop it. Yeah. It would take too much of it. These don't kick back with that ignition at all.
Only once.
Hmm?
Only once. Time I took you to
No,
the-
mine was running and I stuck my finger in it.
Oh, yeah,
Kick back.
that's a different kind of kickback, yeah.
That's a kickback.
That's just a